As technology and methods have changed over the years, how have you seen design services evolve in line with this idea about the engineering of the user experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, it kind of takes me back down memory lane a little bit. So if you think about, research, for instance, upfront research, personas, things like that used to get cut out of budgets and project timelines or project budgets and timelines. They were the first things to go. But I think now that as companies focus on CX, there's more agreement that the voice of the customer, personas, customer journeys are all critical components. And because CX is something that's seen across the organization at the executive level, it's raised the boat, if you will. The rising tide lifts all boats, or something of that nature. It's raised the awareness that UX is involved in these things, and the acceptance of doing those practices of, capturing the voice of the customer, making sure that the personas are defined and that the customer journeys are mapped. I think at the strategy level, business, product, and marketing leaders used to develop strategy without UX leadership or UX designers' involvement. And now UX is a part of those discussions, and in many cases leading the effort. There's a number of design-led companies that are well documented. And so those companies perform well, so then others follow suit in terms of being design-led or product-led. However, to your point earlier, to be effective, UX designers and UX leaders need to have domain knowledge, right? And they need to have business acumen. And so to level up and step up to that strategy table, the designers and leaders in UX have to make sure that they have business acumen and understand the language of business. And I think the other thing that I've seen more recently is UX being involved in web content strategy as well, in terms of a service that's being asked for and needed. From the design perspective, you mentioned it earlier, the design thinking and lean UX methods, acceptance and adoption of design thinking across executives on the business side of organizations over the last 5 years has really opened up the conversation for UX to be involved more at that strategy level, but then also helping solve complex business problems. And that leads into requirements gathering, whereas before it would be the business and the technical leaders, and then product managers. But now UX is involved in that as well, just making sure that the user's requirements are there, but more importantly, again, tying those three circles, business, technology, and design, brand, together in that requirements gathering process. And then to your point about workshops, those are more and more common than they used to be. Prototyping with lightweight, non-coded prototypes. Years ago, a prototype was coded up and tapped into a database, and so you ended up with something that was more expensive, took longer to build. And now with the tools that are out there, with Figma and other things, UX designers are able to quickly prototype and then get them out to test, which is happening more and more frequently. And again, that I think the testing and iterating is part of the agile development process, but also part of the product development process. And then now I think business leaders are open to that more and more as a common or a best practice that they should use. And then the biggest thing I think that I've seen change is in the implementation of the design. Years ago, we would hand off the wireframes annotated and the visual designs to the development team, and then they would go build it. But what we found was oftentimes the designs were not built to the intent of the design, and meaning the behavior, the micro interactions, things like that were not built in a way that the user experience designer had intended. And so What we're finding now is more companies are open to having the designs coded. So, pulling UX firm in to do the front end development or to do the mobile application development, which is what the end user is going to interact with. And then having that team be technically savvy enough to work with their back-end team and manage the API integrations and the DevOps, the deployments and things like that. But more and more companies are open to that. I think that's been a big evolution. And then we'll see how things evolve and change with AI over the next few years as well.